The Red Rock Chapel in Sedona fell completely silent the moment the wooden sign lit up behind the altar. Kendall Delaney. Not a single Vaughn anywhere. 80 guests turned in their seats at once. My mother-in-law actually gasped. My father-in-law's champagne glass froze halfway to his lips. Even the violinist hit the wrong note. I stood there in my dress bouquet heavy in my hands, feeling every stare burning into me. Because 2 years earlier on the actual wedding day, that sign was supposed to celebrate, none of them showed up. Instead, I got a FaceTime call from a rooftop party in Miami. My dad, half drunk, shrugged into the camera and said, "It's just a wedding, who cares?" My sister Cassidy, wearing a crown that said "Finally 40", laughed right in my face and clinked her glass with strangers, while I stood alone in the bridal suite. That was the exact second I decided the name Vaughn was dead to me. So when the courthouse approved my petition and this new sign went up today at the vow renewal/reception my husband threw to celebrate the life we built, without them seeing their old last name erased, felt better than any revenge I could have planned. And the best part? They still don't know where I am. If you've ever had your own family treat your biggest day like it was nothing, type "I felt invisible too" in the comments. Drop your city if you're watching from somewhere they'll never find you. Like, and turn on notifications, because by the end of this video, you're gonna find out exactly what happened when they finally realized who cares cost them everything. I grew up in a brick house on the east side of Cleveland, where the temperature of the whole day depended on one person, Cassidy. Dinner never hit the table until her practice schedule was done. Mom kept her old bedroom untouched like a museum, even after Cassidy moved out at 19. Pink comforters, still fluffed trophies, still polished, while I got shuffled into the tiny sewing room the second I turned 12. Dad came home with a brand new Jeep for Garrett the day he got his learner's permit. I took the RTA bus 40 minutes each way to school until I was 18. Vacations were planned around whatever Cassidy wanted that year. Skiing in Colorado when she joined the ski club. A beach house in the Outer Banks when she decided she needed a tan for prom pictures. One summer she announced she was bored of the lake, so the annual family trip to Lake Erie got canceled, and we all flew to Miami instead. I sat in the back seat counting palm trees, while everyone else argued over which club to hit that night. At home, the rules only applied to me. Garrett could leave dishes in the sink for days. Mom would just laugh and say, "Boys will be boys." I left one plate and suddenly I was disrespectful. Cassidy rolled in at 3 hours past curfew and Dad waited up with a smile and a late-night snack. I missed the last bus once and had to walk home in the rain. Nobody even noticed I was gone until I walked through the door soaked. Every family photo told the same story. Christmas cards, vacation shots, Easter brunch, Cassidy dead center, arms flung wide, Garrett leaning on her shoulder, Mom and Dad on either side beaming. I was always the blurry edge, half cut off, or standing 2 steps behind like I'd been photoshopped in later. Mom still sent those cards out every year. I stopped smiling for them when I was 14. Birthdays were the worst. Garrett turned 16 and Dad threw a surprise party with a rented Dodge Challenger in the driveway. Cassidy's 21st was a rooftop bar, downtown, open bar, DJ, the whole thing. Mine, Mom handed me a grocery store cake after dinner and said, "Make a wish, honey," then turned back to helping Cassidy pick outfits for her weekend trip to Vegas. Cleaning up after parties was my job, and mine alone. Streamers on the ceiling, red cups in the bushes, glitter stuck to the hardwood for weeks. I'd be on my knees at 2 in the morning scrubbing while everyone else slept it upstairs. One time Cassidy stumbled down at noon the next day, saw me still vacuuming and laughed. "You're so good at that, Kendall. You should do it professionally." Mom kept a running list on the fridge of everything Cassidy needed. New tires, rent money, plane tickets home. My name never made the list. When I asked for help with books senior year, Dad told me to figure it out like your sister did. Cassidy never paid a single college bill in her life. Even the little things stung. Mom saved the Sunday paper for Cassidy's horoscope but threw mine straight into recycling. Dad recorded every single one of Garrett's hockey games, filled 3 hard drives, yet never once came to the one play I was in sophomore year. I stood backstage listening to the audience laugh at my lines and knew exactly which 4 seats in the 3rd row were empty. By the time I graduated high school, I had learned the rule number 1 of the Vaughn house: if it didn't involve Cassidy or Garrett, it didn't matter. I stopped asking. I stopped expecting. I just started planning my exit. The day the full-ride scholarship letter from Vanderbilt arrived, I hit the video call button before the envelope was even fully open. Mom answered in the kitchen, Dad leaning over her shoulder, Garrett sprawled on the couch behind them, Cassidy painting her nails at the island. I held the paper to the camera like it was made of gold. Full tuition stipend, everything. I got in. Silence. Then Cassidy rolled her eyes so hard I heard it through the speaker. Cool, but can we keep it down? I literally just broke up with Derek and I'm not in the mood for screaming. Mom gave me a tight smile. That's nice, honey. We'll talk later. Okay. The house is kind of chaotic right now. The call ended in under 30 seconds. No one came to Nashville for the ceremony. Graduation day rolled around 2 years later. I had mailed glossy invitations 8 months earlier, booked a block of hotel rooms near campus, even paid for their flights out of my own stipend because Mom kept saying money was tight. I walked across the stage in my black gown, scanned the sea of faces, and saw exactly 0 Vaughns. That night, I called home. Dad picked up, sounding out of breath. Hey, kiddo. Listen, Garrett rolled his ankle at practice and we're at the ER getting x-rays. We'll celebrate when you get back, promise. I sat on the curb outside the student center until 3 in the morning, still wearing the cap and gown, waiting for a text that never came. A year after that, I landed the job in Phoenix, senior data analyst, 6-figure salary, straight out of grad school. I sent the offer letter in the family group chat with about 40 exclamation points. Cassidy replied with a single thumbs-up emoji. Mom wrote so proud, then immediately followed it with 17 photos of Cassidy's new puppy. I flew them all out first class for the signing day party the company threw. No one used the tickets. Dad said the dates clashed with Garrett's hockey playoffs. Mom added, you know how important those games are to him. I stood alone on the rooftop bar overlooking downtown Phoenix while my new co-workers toasted my name. Then came the engagement. Ethan took me to the Parrot Cay Resort in Turks, and Keikos got down on one knee at sunset, the whole thing. I FaceTimed home the second I had signal. Cassidy answered wearing a mud mask. Oh my God, the ring is... But are you sure you want to do this in Arizona? The pictures are going to look so dry. Mom grabbed the phone. We're happy for you, sweetheart, really. Just... Cassidy's launching her activewear line next month, and the whole family's flying to LA for the pop-up. Can we maybe do an engagement dinner after that? I said yes, because that's what I always did. They never rescheduled. Each time I told myself it was the last straw, then found a new one. I paid for flights they never took. I saved seats that stayed empty. I refreshed my phone during every milestone, waiting for congratulations that arrived late, half-hearted, or not at all. The sadness I carried in high school hardened into something colder. I stopped crying in bathrooms. I started keeping score. By the time I slipped the diamond on my finger for real, the only thing I felt when I looked at their names in my contacts was a quiet, steady burn. I handwrote every single wedding invitation on thick cream cardstock with raised gold lettering. 80 cards, 80 envelopes. I addressed them myself, licked every stamp, and dropped them in the mailbox 8 months before the date we had circled on the calendar, a Saturday in early October, at the Little Red Rock Chapel in Sedona. Mom called the same afternoon the invitations landed in Cleveland. They're gorgeous, honey. We're all coming, I promise. I already told your father to block the whole weekend. Dad got on the extension. Wouldn't miss it for the world, kiddo. Cassidy texted a string of heart-eye emojis and added, finally get to see this desert wedding you keep bragging about. I booked a block of 10 rooms at the resort. Paid the deposits myself, reserved a Sprinter van from Phoenix Sky Harbor straight to Sedona so nobody had to rent cars. Ethan laughed at how excited I was every time another RSVP card came back, with joyfully accepts checked. 6 months out, Cassidy posted on Instagram a sponsored shoot with a luxury tequila brand rooftop in South Beach caption screaming, "Turning the big 4 Neo in the 305, and the brand is flying the whole family down." The contract was supposedly $250,000 for 3 days of content. Non-cancelable, non-transferable. I ignored the knot in my stomach and kept planning. I still had 6 months. People change plans. 3 months out, Mom started hedging. "Cassidy's stylist needs the whole family for the campaign shots, honey. They're paying for everything, first-class penthouse suite, the works. You understand, right?" I reminded her the wedding was already paid for. She sighed like I was being difficult. 2 months out, Dad sent a text, "Flights are insane that weekend because of the Miami thing. Maybe we combine trips." I offered to change the wedding date. Ethan said absolutely not. We'd already locked the venue, the photographer, the caterer. I told Dad that. He went silent for a week. 6 weeks before the wedding, Cassidy FaceTimed me from a yacht, champagne flute in hand. "Sis, hate to do this, but the brand added a surprise yacht day. Like actual yacht. With drones. We literally can't say no." I asked if at least Mom and Dad could still come. She laughed. "And miss the yacht? Be real." I stopped sleeping. I refreshed the resort reservation page every day, watching the Vaughn rooms sit empty. I still left the welcome bags on the beds, local coffee, prickly pear candy, handwritten notes that now felt pathetic. 2 weeks before the date, Mom called crying about how expensive it would be to fly separately, how Garrett had a tournament he couldn't miss, how Cassidy's manager threatened to pull the whole deal if the full family unit wasn't there for optics. I said I understood. I didn't. The night before the rehearsal dinner, I sat on the hotel balcony in Sedona, staring at 10 untouched welcome bags lined up like little gravestones. Ethan found me there at 2 in the morning and just wrapped a blanket around my shoulders without asking questions. I still checked my phone every 10 minutes, half expecting a last-second surprise "we're here" text that never came. I refreshed the group chat until the little delivered turned into read under every message, and no one typed back. Deep down, I already knew, but some stupid part of me kept the porch light on until the morning of the wedding, just in case. 3 o'clock sharp, I stood in the bridal suite staring out at the red desert stretching forever. My phone would not stop buzzing. I knew what it was before I even flipped it over. Cassidy's name lit the screen. I accepted the FaceTime call. The camera wobbled, then steadied on a rooftop packed with strangers in linen and sunglasses. Gold balloons spelling 40 bobbed behind her head. A drone buzzed overhead. She was already holding a champagne flute and a pen. "Hey sis," she shouted over the music. "We're literally signing the addendum right now. They upped it another 50 grand for the yacht footage. Can you believe it?" I said nothing. Dad leaned into frame, red-faced tie already loosened. He gave the camera a little wave, like this was normal. "Sweetheart, it's just a wedding. Who cares? We'll do a big dinner when you get back." Mom appeared next, clutching a gift bag that obviously wasn't for me. "Honey, the brand surprised us with a private chef on the boat tonight. We couldn't say no." Garrett photobombed behind them, making bunny ears over Mom's head, laughing like we were all in on the joke. Cassidy rolled her eyes at my silence. "God, Kendall, you're being so dramatic. It's a ceremony in the middle of the desert. No one's missing anything." I looked past the phone at the mirror. My veil was perfect. My makeup was perfect. My hands were shaking so hard the bouquet trembled. I ended the call without a word. Ethan knocked once and opened the door. He took one look at my face and closed it again, locking the world out. He didn't ask what happened. He already knew. I walked down the aisle anyway. 80 of his family and friends stood when the string quartet started. His mom cried happy tears in the front row. His dad squeezed my hand when he gave me away. I said I do, in a voice that didn't shake once. The officiant pronounced us married. Everyone cheered. Rice flew. Pictures were taken. The cake was cut. I smiled in every photo. Inside, something finished breaking. At the reception, I danced with Ethan under the string lights while the red rocks turned purple in the sunset. I toasted with his cousins. I threw the bouquet. I laughed when his 92-year-old grandmother caught the garter. But every time my phone lit up on the table, texts from numbers I hadn't deleted yet, asking for pictures, pretending nothing was wrong, another piece of me calcified. When the last guest left and the staff started breaking down tables, Ethan found me sitting alone on the chapel steps, barefoot, veil in my lap. He sat beside me without speaking. I stared at the dark desert and said the sentence I had never allowed myself to think before, let alone say out loud. I'm done being a Vaughn. He rested his hand on my knee. Then don't be. That was it. No drama. No begging me to reconsider. Just permission. I looked at the ring on my finger, then at the mountains that had watched the entire day without judgment, and I felt the last thread snap. Tomorrow the courthouse opened at 9. Tomorrow the name Kendall Vaughn would be gone for good. The morning after the wedding, Ethan and I sat by the infinity pool at Enchantment Resort Coffee, cooling in our hands, red rocks glowing like they were on fire. I opened my MacBook, went straight to the Maricopa County Superior Court website, and started filling out the petition for change of name. Ethan watched without comment while I typed Kendall Delaney in the box marked New Legal Name. He just slid the credit card across the table when the filing fee popped up, $360. I hit submit before I could second-guess myself. The clerk emailed the hearing date 3 days later, December 12th, exactly 9 weeks out. In Arizona, you have to publish the notice in a local paper for 4 consecutive weeks. I paid the Sedona Red Rock News online and scheduled the ad that same afternoon. Back in Phoenix the following week, I walked into the Social Security office on 48th Street with the certified court order the day it was approved. New card mailed within 10 business days. Driver's license was next. Arizona MVD in Scottsdale. 30-minute wait, new photo, new name printed on the spot. Passport took longer. I overnighted everything to the agency in Philadelphia and paid the expedited fee. 8 weeks later, the thick blue book arrived addressed to Kendall Delaney. My company had an office in Nashville. I emailed HR from my honeymoon account asking about internal transfer. 2 Zoom interviews and 1 signed offer letter later, they moved me to the downtown headquarters with a 15% raise and full relocation package. Ethan's family had more than enough connections to make it seamless. Bank accounts were trickier. I opened new checking and savings at First Horizon in Nashville before I even left Arizona, then initiated ACH transfers, so every paycheck went straight to the new name. Old accounts at Fifth Third in Cleveland closed the day the balances hit 0. Credit cards, Amex, Chase, Capital One, every issuer got the court order and new Social Security card. New plastic arrived in plain envelopes addressed to the Delaney house we had already closed on in Green Hills. Health insurance switched automatically with the job. Dental and vision followed. Even the 401k got rolled over without a single phone call. I deleted the family group chat, blocked every Vaughn number, removed them from my emergency contacts at work and on every medical form. Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, every profile picture with any of them gone. Accounts, private usernames changed, old posts archived. I paid a service $29 to scrub my maiden name from people search sites. Within 30 days, Kendall Vaughn ceased to exist online. Ethan never once asked if I was sure. He just handed me paperwork when I needed signatures, drove me to appointments, and made sure the new driver's license photo didn't look like a mugshot. 4 months after I clicked submit by that pool, the last piece arrived, the certified decree from the Arizona court stamped final. I stood in our new kitchen in Nashville, held the paper over the recycling bin, and let it drop. No letter, no phone call, no explanation. They woke up one day, and the daughter they forgot simply wasn't there to forget anymore. Dad's hands shook when he pulled the thick cream envelope from the stack of mail on the kitchen island in Cleveland. Return address: Thompson and Associates Estate Attorneys. He knew the firm. Everyone in their circle did. They handled Aunt Beatrice's affairs. Inside was a single letter on heavy letterhead and a certified copy of the last will and testament dated 18 months earlier. Beatrice Vaughn, his wife's older sister, had died quietly in her Shaker Heights home 6 weeks ago. The funeral had been private, immediate family only. Kendall Vaughn was listed as the sole attendee. The will was short. After a few small charitable gifts, everything the Tudor house on South Park Boulevard, the brokerage account worth $3.2 million after taxes. The vintage Jaguar in the garage was left in irrevocable trust to my niece Kendall Delaney, formerly known as Kendall Vaughn. The trustee's note explained that Beatrice updated the documents the same month Kendall legally changed her name. She had known. Dad read it twice, then dropped into a chair like someone had kicked his knees out. Across town that same week, Ethan sat at the long walnut table in the executive boardroom of Delaney Hospitality Group headquarters on Demonbrunn in Nashville. On the agenda, final signature on the new 3-year liquor supply contract with Vaughn Distributing, Dad's company. The deal was worth 8 figures annually to both sides. Ethan slid the unsigned contract back across the table. "I'm pulling us out." His father raised an eyebrow. "We're 90 days from ink." "Why?" Ethan didn't blink. "I no longer trust the family behind the company." That was all he said. The room understood it was final. Within 48 hours, the news hit the trade groups. Vaughn Distributing lost its flagship hotel chain account overnight. Margins were already razor-thin after 2 bad years. Without the Delaney volume, cash flow collapsed. Banks started calling in lines of credit. Vendors demanded code. Dad's partner of 25 years quietly started looking for an exit. Back in Cleveland, the phones began exploding. Mom tried every old number, every email, every mutual friend from high school. Nothing came back. Cassidy posted a tearful Instagram story asking if anyone had heard from my sister Kendall. Please DM. It got 12,000 likes and 0 leads. Garrett drove to the old condo in Phoenix. The leasing office confirmed the tenant moved out 8 months ago, no forwarding address. Dad retained a private investigator in Nashville. 3 weeks and $15,000 later, the report was 1 paragraph. Subject: resides in Davidson County, Tennessee, under the legal name Kendall Delaney, married, employed, no criminal record, no public social media, no contact information available. The house on South Park went on the market through the trust. A young surgeon bought it cash. The Jag sold at auction in Scottsdale for $210,000. The money hit an account none of them would ever touch. By the time winter hit Cleveland, Vaughn Distributing was in Chapter 11. The country club membership lapsed. The boats were repoed. Cassidy's activewear line lost its last sponsor when the payment bounced. They finally understood the weight of who cares. The crystal chandeliers in the grand ballroom of the Grand Delaney Nashville blazed like diamonds themselves the night Ethan's grandparents celebrated their 60th wedding anniversary. 600 guests in black tie filled the room. The string orchestra played Sinatra. Ice sculptures of swans melted slowly beside towers of champagne. I walked in on Ethan's arm wearing midnight blue silk, our 6-month-old son Leo asleep against my shoulder in a tiny tuxedo onesie. My new nameplate at the hostess stand read, Kendall Delaney, Regional Director of Communications, Delaney Hospitality Group. No one from the old life had been invited. Until they were. Dad appeared first near the entrance, thinner than I remembered, suit hanging off him like it belonged to someone else. Mom clung to his elbow, eyes already red. Cassidy hovered behind them in a too-tight dress, clutching a clutch like a life raft. Garrett brought up the rear, hands shoved in pockets, staring at the marble floor. They had begged Ethan's assistant for the invitation. Vaughn Distributing was 90 days from liquidation. 1 new contract with the Delaney portfolio would keep the lights on. They had nothing left to lose. Ethan spotted them the same second I did. He squeezed my hand once. "Your call." I handed Leo to his grandmother, kissed her cheek, and walked straight across the ballroom. Every step echoed in my chest, but my face stayed calm. Dad tried to smile. "Kendall, honey." I stopped 3 feet away. It's Kendall Delaney now. Mom reached for me, tears spilling. Sweetheart, we've been worried sick. Please, just 5 minutes. Your father's company, Cassidy, cut in, voice cracking. I'm so sorry, okay. I was awful. We all were. We miss you. We need you. Garrett finally looked up. He opened his mouth, closed it, then just nodded like he already knew what was coming. I let the silence stretch until the orchestra behind me finished their song and the room held its breath. Then I said the only sentence I had rehearsed for 2 years. I'm not a Vaughn anymore. And you are no longer my family. Mom made a sound like someone had punched her. Dad's face crumpled. Cassidy started sobbing into her clutch. Garrett dropped his gaze again. I turned and walked back to Ethan. He met me halfway, slipped his arm around my waist and guided me toward the head table where his grandparents waited to cut the 7-tier cake. Behind us, security appeared quietly at the Vaughns' sides. 2 polite escorts in tuxedos murmured something about the guest list and gently steered them toward the exit. No scene, no shouting. Just the soft click of the ballroom doors closing. The new contract died unsigned on Ethan's desk that night. 3 weeks later, the bankruptcy filing hit the Cleveland Plain dealer. Vaughn Distributing was gone. I never heard from any of them again. Leo grew up calling Ethan's parents Grandma and Grandpa. We renewed our vows under those same red rocks every October, just the 3 of us, and whoever wanted to celebrate love that actually showed up. And every year when the wooden sign lights up behind the altar, it still reads, Kendall Delaney, in perfect unchanging gold. Some names you're born with. Some names you earn. This one I chose. And I have never looked back. If you have ever been told that setting boundaries makes you selfish, you are not alone. Many people grow up believing that being a good daughter, son, spouse, or parent means always making room for everyone else. You learn to forgive quickly. You learn to stay quiet. You learn to accept disappointment because someone tells you, that's just family. But you have the right to be respected. You have the right to say no. And you have the right to want more for yourself. You have the right to expect people who claim to love you to show up when it matters. Kendall spent years waiting for her family to recognize her. She invited them. She paid for their travel. She celebrated their milestones while quietly hoping they would one day celebrate hers. When that day never came, she finally stopped asking them to choose her. That decision was not about revenge. It was about acceptance. She accepted what their actions had already told her, and chose to build a life where she did not have to keep proving that she deserved to matter. And that is an important part of healing. Being kind to yourself does not mean you love your family less. It does not mean you become cold or stop caring. Self-respect gives love a healthier foundation because you can care for others without abandoning yourself. Sometimes healing means creating distance. Sometimes it means changing the patterns you inherited. And sometimes it means giving yourself permission to become someone your old environment never allowed you to be. If you have ever felt invisible in your own family, I would genuinely love to hear your story. Share your experience in the comments. Someone reading your words may realize that they are not alone. If this story gave you something to think about, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and explore more stories about family boundaries, emotional healing, and self-respect in the description. Thank you sincerely for staying with this story until the very end. And remember, you do not have to keep sacrificing your peace just to maintain a relationship that refuses to respect your worth. Protecting your peace is not selfish. It is sometimes the necessary choice that allows you to finally come home to yourself.